Running Sentences presents The Lost Rider and His Tale, Part 4. Disaster? Well, this might qualify. Caught between finding out what's going on and running away because this is all mad, Victor has a choice, and it isn't an easy one. This story is written and narrated by Michael Henry. It is a work of fiction, so any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within this story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, businesses, events, and or fictional businesses, characters, events is purely coincidental. Copyright 2025, Michael Henry. All rights reserved. Lucy had moved over to the couch to sit down across from Sherry. Both women had settled into Victor's apartment living room this evening, with no signs of wanting to leave, at least yet. Both wanted his help, and he was perhaps the least prepared person to deal with that or them. Okay, Lucy, what exactly did you want to talk about? I'm here to talk about the boss, mostly, but I won't do it around this lady. I've done nothing wrong, Sherry protested. You say that, Miss Sherry, but you have lost Victor his job, and had randomly appeared here now looking for more information about the bar. That is a wrong thing to have done. It's not my fault your boss is acting like a baby and is caught up in such crimes. The man makes his own choices and assumptions. You can't lay such things on me. Sherry, please don't be antagonistic. It won't make me want to help you. But please, can you explain how else I might be able to lend you assistance? Because why not? Helping people is a good thing, right? If it involves the bar, though, there is nothing I can do anymore, Victor explained. Lucy glares over at Sherry, who equally returns the look. I don't know if I trust this lady since she works at the bar. Okay, Lucy, can you tell this woman that there are no money-making machines down in the basement of Stephen's place? Lucy gives an incredulous look to both of them, and then smirks. I have worked there for a while now, and no, there are no machines. No hidden sub-basements or other hidden features to it? Sherry asked. It's a bar that has been owned for a couple of years and was converted from an office space. I think I would know if it had something like that to use. Why would you know if it had something like that? I pretty much run that bar so Stephen can go do whatever he wants. He's always up to something with that other lady, and unless there is some great secret that I don't know about, you're barking up the wrong trees, and ones that don't actually exist, Sherry. And with that settled, now we know that I cannot help you, Miss Sherry. Sherry doesn't look sold on that and doesn't make a move to leave Victor's apartment. The whole matter had been solved, yet nothing had changed. Just his luck. You don't believe us, I see, Miss Sherry. You've given me no reason to, Miss Lucy. Can we stop with the antagonistic comments? Listen, I can't help you, Sherry, so please, leave my apartment. You're ordering me out after all I've done for you. You haven't done anything for me. Please, leave. He's asking nicely, and you've only caused him problems, Lucy added. And I have nothing more to say to you or your colleagues. They've brought me nothing but problems, as everybody's pointed out, so please. Sherry now rose from her chair, looking rather cross. There seemed to be words on her lips, but she was holding them back for the moment. Goodbye, miss, Lucy said, continuing to taunt and ignore Victor's advice. Reluctantly, Sherry storms over to the door. You two will regret this. Okay, I'm sure we will. I don't know how or why, but it's better than not understanding what you want. She didn't respond to that as she opened the door and stepped through it, slamming it shut behind her with a loud crack. Victor took a step back, rubbed his ears to stop the harshness of the noise, even though the motion did nothing for him. Good. Now we can get down to business, then. Victor looks over to Lucy, sprawled out on the couch. What business do we actually have? You met the politician's daughter, right? Yeah. She almost ran the place with the way she seemed to be ordering around Stephen. She doesn't own it, but Stephen tends to get used by her because he doesn't know how to say no to her, I think. With a nod, yes. Victor didn't know what else to say or do, but he waited for something more, but she didn't speak. I met her father that night at the party, and her, of course. Neither seemed like great people, though she did let me stay the night at her place. Well, why did you stay at her place? Well, I needed a place to stay since I was forced, since the whole weirdness with the private detectives, and when I went to tell Stephen about the private detectives, that was forced upon me by Stephen. Riley didn't want to do it either, but just went along with it, I guess. Her and her father are dangerous people. He sighed and moved back to the living room space from the little hallway that led to the front door, so that he could flop down on a nearby chair. I figured that out pretty quickly, between the way they treated me and with those weird detectives, everything just felt wrong lately, so I don't trust anything. You got fired because of her? Yeah, the boss told me that, Lucy, that he was firing me because he didn't trust me since I've made up a detective agency with missing people. Also, he said he talked to you about this. Yet you're here, and from the look on your face, he mentioned none of this to me. Weird, but for Stephen, not that weird, since he's always up to something, I guess. Victor found himself saying. That is the thing, though. I don't get my usual feeling that he's planning something. Victor bit his lip as he worried about what was going to happen next. You want me to do something about that? If you could. In frustration, Victor shot up off of the seat, his arms flailing about as he tried to explain. There was nothing he could do. His words, though, at the moment were failing him, so he just was stuck there, waving his arms about in frustration. What's that supposed to mean? All the hand and arm waving, Victor? People keep asking me to help them out, then don't provide a way for me to actually do it, or information on what I'm supposed to do. Stephen isn't going to let me get close to that bar. I don't want you to get close to the bar, she replied. Then what, Lucy? His house. Do you have a key to his house? Not at the moment, but I can get it. Or I would be breaking and entering, then. She shook her head no, as she too got up and went over to him, clapping her hands against his arms, pinning them to his sides, so that he was no longer waving them about, and he raised his eyebrows to her. I can get the key. Stephen is going to give you the key to his house and potentially the passcode to his security system? Victor had to ask. Yeah. Why would he do that, Lucy? He likes and trusts me. And you're willing to throw all of that away to get some sort of answer what is wrong with him? She shrugs and starts strolling about the living room space, making a little bit of circle. It isn't much of a living room either, so she was soon turning back to him and facing him. We protect the people in our lives from bad things. My job is mostly to protect Stephen from bad things. You didn't protect me from getting fired, I mean. And what does that tell you about our relationship? A lot more than you probably want if you were interested in me doing this job. Lucy opened her mouth to retort, then realization hit her about what she'd inadvertently admitted to. She closed her mouth into a grim expression, that she wasn't pleased with the way things were turning out. You're right. It was wrong of me to say that you're not important to this relationship. I apologize. We do need to do this together to save Stephen from himself, though. It, however, did not make a lick of sense to Victor why he would want to do this. There was nothing tying him to his boss, and when he tried to help, he had gotten fired for it. If he got caught this time, it would only end badly. For him. Lucy, what am I getting out of this if I help you? And why does it have to be me? Why can't it be you? Victor added while she thought over her answer. Well, that is complicated, was all she offered. Then you'd better explain it to me. I need you because there's no one else who will potentially help me. And you don't want to do this alone because it feels wrong to do it. And what are you even looking for in this house? In his house? His computer or something? Papers? What's going to tell you these answers that you seek, Lucy? Well, it's going to be whatever stands out to you inside the house. And you still say you can't do this by yourself? She shakes her head no, and he returns his head shake no. I do not think this will work, Lucy. It reeks of setting me up to take the fall for this. I can't believe you would do this to me after all I've done for you. That's the way it has to be. Goodbye, Lucy. Sorry, but not sorry. Victor pointed towards the door and takes a few steps back to try and get her out of there. With a dour expression on her face, Lucy moves towards the door. Unlike with Sherry, though, she doesn't make a big fuss of leaving. Once she was gone, Victor slid back into his seat, groaning. Finally, some peace and quiet. No more crazy people to deal with. Though, now that I think about it, where are my roommates? He glances about the mostly dark apartment space and shrugs. This long evening was just about done, and all he wanted to do was go back to sleep. Victor awoke at some point in the morning and lay on his bed thinking about his previous evening. His brain now scrambled it all into pieces, giving him little hope of figuring it all out, and didn't want to remember everything. So he gave up and went into the kitchen to make some breakfast. If it isn't a roommate, how are you doing? Victor merely nods to Brody as Sam steps into the conversation. We need to have a chat, by the way, or talk, Sam said as he came in, directing his words to Victor. Hi, Brody. Hi, Sam. What do we need to talk about? Slinking into a nearby chair, he looks over to his roommate, sitting across from him. Money, mostly. The favorite topic of a banker. Do I owe you some or something, Sam? Was the payment that I gave you that terrible? It was indeed terrible. Fake money and all that, a whole lot of it. Fake bill after fake bill were given to me by you. With a frown, Victor looks him over. Well, that was my pay for working at Stephen's bar, and I already made sure you were aware of it and that you can report it. And you can report him to your bosses if you want. My only problem is that I work there under the table, so I'm not officially there. Right, it's under the table pot that comes to my attention. I don't mind you as a roommate, but if I were to report this, it would only lead to you. How do you figure that, Sam? This Mr. Stephen will deny ever knowing you, and since he probably has no records with you on it, or he's deleted them, or something else, then it comes right back to you and the police will take you in and not really care about him. Shitty situation, guys, Brody added unhelpfully. Yes, it is, Brody. A terrible one since I now don't have a job, and I expect you want me to pay you all of that money back. No, on the money front, you're actually fine this time. My boss was happy to find fake money since it makes him look good to his bosses. He is already looking into where the money came from, and so far I've told him I found it in a bag, and thought it's a good idea to bring it to the bank. Awesome, Sam, thanks. As a result, Victor, you owe me a favor. Of course. What can I do for you? If it involves writing, I can do that easily enough, or anything else. Actually, I do need something that involves a bit of words. I have some reports that need to be typed up. Nothing spectacular, or as it is, mostly boring banking drivel about the state of this and that. Well, what needs to be done? And when does it need to be done by? Victor asked. The next few days would be fine. Well, then I'll get on it once you give me the reports and information you need for it. I expect that this will probably make you look very good in your boss's eyes. Yes, and if you do that, then the next month's rent will be wiped out as well. Is that a fair trade? Well, wait, guys. Do I have to pay more to cover the cost of him, then? No, Brody, you do not. I'll cover Victor's share while he goes and looks for another job, because I'm getting a bonus out of this. Okay with both of you? Victor looked at his roommate suspiciously, but nods yes, as Brody joined him in, shaking his head yes. Victor stared at the document he had been working on for the last few days. His head was swimming on the words that no longer wanted to come to him. The 4 papers he had been given were mostly done, but needed to be checked over by Sam. For a few days' work, though, and getting him off rent-free, it was decent enough to be usable. Not pretty, but they would get the job done. He printed them off, got up to stretch, and then get some food. His stomach had been grumbling for the past few minutes. Wandering out to the living room, where he could hear the TV blaring something, Victor stopped to watch the show that he had on. It was some racy thriller that he didn't mind, but there was a young woman in the living room there. She was sitting between Brody and Sam, and by all appearances was enjoying what they were watching. Sam? His roommate turned to him as he held up his work that he'd just printed off. You need to check these and get back to me with any notes on the fixes you need. They should be done now. In only 2 days? Sam questioned. Well, I poured all my effort into them. Gave me something to concentrate on after the past few days of madness for me. A nice, welcome change, and something that I can control with words. Past few days? The young woman who turned around turned out to be Ellis, sitting there enjoying the show. Instinctively, Victor raised his hand to say hello, unsure of what else to do in this moment. He's had some terrible luck and lost his job, Brody clarified for her. What happened? Nothing that makes a lick of sense or is worth thinking about. Just another day in my life. She instead turned to Brody. What happened to him? Well, as far as I can tell, he got fired because they paid him in fake money. Then there was some stuff about a made-up detective agency or something he mentioned in passing. I don't know. Victor found himself blushing at this ridiculousness. All of it sounds like something out of a bad story. It's best not to think about it, since I'm not thinking about it, Ellis. A bunch of weirdos demanding things of me that I could not deliver. Are you okay, though? I'm pretty sure, yes. Thank you for your concern, Ellis. I can call you Ellis, right? Of course you can. She got up from her seat and came over to him, at which she grabbed a hold of his arm as he sort of stood there, stiffly allowing himself to be guided over to a nearby love seat and then pushed into it. Ellis then sat on his lap and went back to watching the show, partially. So are we going back to watching this slightly decent thriller? She asked. Yes, we are. Sam agreed. We miss you over here already, though, Brody added. Oh, don't worry, I'll be back there soon. Unsure of himself and what else to do in this situation, Victor sort of sat there and accepted it, all while trying to think about the movie or various other things to make sure he didn't get excited. After a while, though, he actually felt relaxed and was able to let go of most of his problems lately. The next morning, unable to sleep terribly well, Victor had gone for a walk. He just about returned to the apartment and was headed up the sidewalk to the apartment front door when he spotted Sam standing outside, looking about, and then directly to him. What's up, Sam? These papers. Are they no good? No, they're exactly what I needed, and they keep things simple enough that most people will be able to understand them. Great, then you don't have a problem with them? Yes, I do. How am I going to explain them to my boss, who doesn't think I can write? Oh, no idea, Sam. Well, actually, thankfully I do have an idea, Victor. Come to the bank with me. What? I'm not good with numbers, only words, and even those manage to run away from me half the time. Sam shakes his head ruefully. There is room for someone who can explain things, though I don't know how long it will last. There is a recession that is rumored to be coming, and the first people fired are generally your type, but there's a potential job here for you. Wouldn't that make it better for me not to take that job then, Sam? I don't want to get hired only to be fired again. This likely recession is probably a couple months away, and you could use a steady source of income for your writings. Come on, at least come to the bank with me. I don't have a choice in this right now, Victor asked. Well, you could choose to say no, but I merely won't listen to you, and neither will my boss. Victor looked around his surroundings, wondering if any of this sounded strange to anyone else. There was no one else around, though, so it was rather pointless, and there was no escape. Sam had also come over and grabbed his arm, directing him towards his car in the nearby parking lot. It will just be a little chat, that is all. You don't have to worry about anything. There might be a job offer, there might not be. That I don't have a choice about. Sometimes it is good not to have that choice, Victor. A clean, well-kept office, with even the rugs kept immaculately clean, sat before Victor as he sat on a chair. He was in the manager's office to the bank, and along with Sam as they sat across from Peter, the boss who was reading the papers that Victor had written up. For his part, though, he hadn't actually been paying much attention to what was being said between Sam and his boss. He knew this probably wasn't going to work out. It was Victor's dream to have such a job, but any time he applied for such things, they never seemed to happen. As you can see, boss, these papers are neat, tidy, and easy to understand. Yes, Sam, it's easy enough to see, but nothing. We need someone to help attract those that like things simple. If we can do that, we can become a bigger bank. I appreciate the fact that you're eager to improve this place and have all the markings of an accountant who will go far, but slow yourself, Sam, the boss growled. It's hard to, sir. When you see a good opportunity and know that you should take it. This boss, Peter, nods at that, and then to Victor, who found himself realizing he was being talked about. And what do you have to say about all of this, Mr. Victor? I would welcome a job, though according to Sam, it might not last long. And why would you say that, Sam? The rumored incoming recession that everyone says is right around the corner. You'll have to cut jobs, and his would be nice to have, but not entirely necessary, sort of. Yes, that would happen, Sam, but... Victor jumped in. You can't see me as being a useful person to your team, right? The opposite, really.
I could use you, but I don't have the budget for it. Sorry, but I don't think this can happen. What about a freelance position? You can do that, right, Victor? Yeah, Sam, I've done that sort of one-off work where you pay a fee and I can write a paper in return. That would work for us, right?
Sam said as he turned to his boss.
I suppose it could, but again, I would have to find the money to pay for such things. Then put me in charge of it. I'll find the money, and we can work with my associate here to improve this bank tenfold. Please say yes, boss. Peter, though, looks reluctant, and then shrugs mostly to himself. I suppose you can look into it, Sam, but you have to come to me first with what you get. Of course, that's the way things will go, boss, and I will come to you with any projects that need to be written up, Victor, though there are quite a few of them. Are there really projects that need to be done?
The boss asked.
So much needs to be redone about this place, boss. It's important to get things rewritten for the modern day. Right, Victor? Yes. Language keeps changing, so you don't want to sound old-fashioned or use words that have changed meaning. I see. Well, Sam, you better see if you can find those funds, then. A few minutes later, Sam had escorted Victor out to the bank parking lot and offered his hand to shake. Don't worry, I'll get you the job. It's appreciated, but I'm not sure why you're going through so much effort. There's good business in seeing what you have and getting it to work for you. I can see your writing is good, and that will attract business for my business. There are better writers out there, though, Sam. But not all of them can and will write about financial drudgery decently enough for my work. Take the compliment and go home, or wherever you're going to go. Before he could say anything else to that, Sam had turned and went back into the bank, and with a shrug, Victor turned and headed away, looking for something to do. After a bit of wandering about, Victor found himself back at the park, where he'd met that old private detective. The man's name now escaped him for the moment, and with a shudder ran down his spine at trying to think of it. How could any of those people, private detectives or whoever they were, think that he could help them? All he'd ever done was written stories, and not great ones at that. Mr. Victor. Yes, who is... Victor turns to find the old man from before, standing not far off. Nothing about him looked threatening, but that only made him more cautious. You turned down my workers. Yes, your worker was useless. Oh no, I doubt that, the detective said. Then you don't know your stuff very well. You can't keep asking the same thing of me over and over again when I've already said I can't help, and I don't know how to help. Yet you can do so much for me, the private detective insisted. Not for you. Go away. He turned to begin marching away, only to feel a hand catch his shoulder as he took a step. We need your help. You should have approached me with better lines than that. Good day, sir. With a glare over his shoulder, Victor pulled out of Mr. Lewis's grasp and marched away. For once, it felt good to be in control, even though he wasn't sure he was. Victor had set his path intentionally to head for his apartment. Yet he did not arrive there, and unintentionally, a series of turns this way and that, to give him some more time to think, led him to the Arcadis parking lot, where he spotted Roger walking towards him. Victor blinked a few times, trying to make sure that was what he was seeing and that it was right. Mr. Victor, was it? Yes, Roger, I believe that was your name, or at least Brody told me. Good, we know each other's names. I was hoping to run into you. Victor felt a strange sensation crawling over him. He didn't exactly trust this man. Why? Having completed his hurried walk up to him, Roger now stood by his side, taking him by the arm. The man was leading him away from all of this, with a concerned look on his face, and headed directly for the building. You know people? No, not really. I've run into people who have helped me. What are you talking about? I live in that fancy apartment building, the one where you stayed the other night. Brody mentioned that place, and yes, I stayed there. Why? Well, the daughter of a congressperson came to see me. Miss Riley, or whatever their name was. Yes, that one. She threatened me with losing my place if I didn't tell her where you are. That sensation turned into a trickle of sweat and fear that was now snaking its way down his spine, one that Victor desperately wanted to go away. Why would she do that? I don't know. She didn't tell me. Oh, well, now you can say that you ran into me and passed along the message, I guess? Victor's mind cursed the thought and wondered why he was being dragged back into this mad world that he'd been trying to leave so hard. He couldn't help anyone, and they had no need for him, even though they thought they needed him. Unless Stephen had told her that he'd lied about the situation, that might be bad, was what Victor was thinking about while waiting for this answer. I have to do more than that. Mr. Roger, what do you mean? There are people who want me to report the instant I find you. The man had reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. Victor stared for a moment, nodding, and began pulling out of the man's grasp. Look, I don't want to be associated with them or anyone. Tell them I just ran away. And that was what he was doing, literally a moment later. He ran for a little while, more than a good 100 feet, before he remembered he wasn't in good shape. It wasn't going to do him any good to run in the first place, since those who wanted him probably could catch up to him in a matter of minutes, and they probably had cars. Instead, he wound his way through his small little city until he was back at his apartment parking lot and trudging through it when he spotted a fancy-looking car sat in the visitor's parking spot, its doors opening with two men and then Riley emerging from it. You! Riley shouted at him. Oh boy. Did you think you would get away? Well, I haven't really tried to get away with anything, and I've only told the truth. Well, Stephen told me otherwise. You made up the investigators. No, he said they went missing. They are still very much alive. They've been seen bothering me about the bar. Still, even today at the park, as I was walking through it, they were bothering me. Victor offered as an explanation. Why would I believe that? Because I haven't lied and I have no reason to lie. And there's no evidence supporting your claims to any of this either. Victor held up his hands and backed away from Riley and her guards. There was nothing to be gained by arguing with her, but she didn't look like she wanted to drop this either. Fine. What do you even want from me? I want... There was a long pause as she pointed her pointer finger at him, and then stared off in the distance for a moment. Apparently, she wasn't even sure, and this was all about yelling to get some frustrations out, hopefully. Maybe this was nothing. Whatever it is you want, I can already tell you I can't give it to you. I can give nobody anything. I have no money because I lost my job, and all I have is a room to sleep in at night for the next 2 months. Shut up. I'm thinking this through, and I need to word it carefully so that you don't try anything. He gave her an incredulous look to figure out what that all meant. then gave up and continued to back away towards the apartment building as he tried to get around her. It was best not to give these crazy people a chance to say or do anything at all. "Where do you think you're going?" "Away from you. I owe you nothing, and I've done nothing wrong. Go away, crazy person."
"I'm crazy?"
Riley growled. "Yes, for doing all of this, trying to get me to do something I don't want to do. It's crazy." He turned and ran, hearing the patter of running footsteps coming after him. End of part 4 of The Lost Rider and His Tale. Thank you for listening.